Who does not feel angry? The answer is we all feel angry because anger is a normal emotion. It is part of the reward circuitry in our brain and part of the fight and flight response that the brain generates when we feel under perceived stress or threat. Today I'd like to introduce Sarina Wheatman, who is a therapist, a colleague, and a friend, and Sarina and I have worked together for a number of years. I've always been inspired by some of Sarina's lectures on anger because Sarina really equates anger to a number of picturesque examples like the volcano and explains it in such a beautiful way that I thought it would be a good idea to spread that information through these videos. Sarina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Shania. Yeah, I'm a therapist. I work mainly in the south of England and mainly in rehabs, working with addictions. And the anger question is a very important question because most people don't know addiction is called the angry illness. And that means that everybody who comes into treatment, everybody who needs treatment is actually very angry. And also the people left at home because there's so much confusion and shame and misery that's associated with addiction. So anger is a huge focus of what we do in treatment. So, yeah.
So Sarina, let's talk about anger then, because of your experience of working with anger through your addictions work over the years. How does anger change the way we think as human beings?
So unexpressed anger can actually become very dangerous and toxic. Everybody, as you said in the first thing that you said, everybody feels this emotion, but not everybody owns up to it. And because it's largely hidden, like addiction itself, it develops into something that becomes very toxic and dangerous to every human being. So again, you talked about the volcano. So I like to think in pictures, and I talk about anger as a if you envisage a volcano inside of you, and all the layers are made up of all the different crazy things that happen in our lives. Some of them pretty inconsequential, like somebody cutting us off in the traffic and being late for work. They all generate feelings in us, and the feelings are so normal, a normal part of life that we don't even recognize that actually I should really talk about this. Along with all of that, we have addiction, and addiction there's a huge amount of anger and shame and all the negative kind of connotations of feelings associated with addictions. And then for some people there are childhood issues, things that happen in childhood that need to be explored and haven't been explored. So we get trauma and stress and PTSD and things like that. So
yeah, and I quite like that analogy of the volcano. You're absolutely right. Even if you think about the fight and flight response, a number of chemicals are released as part of the fight and flight response, a bit like adrenaline, testosterone. So you can almost visualize it like a volcano erupting and controlling or taking control of our mind and body. But then too much anger can dent relationships, personal and professional, and it's also harmful to an individual's mental well-being. Of course, everything needs to be in balance. A little bit of anger does need to be expressed. Repressed anger leads to depression and anxiety, but too much anger can cause hurt and pain in relationships. So Sarina, can from your experience, tell us about the impact of anger on mental well-being, relationships, from what you have seen in the context of addictions and without the context of addictions. What has your experience been?
So unexpressed anger is very toxic, can be very toxic, and can lead to feelings of worthlessness, powerlessness, all of those things which are not a good thing for people to feel. And then depression, which is known as anger turned inwards, stress, anxiety. very, very anxious people sometimes really don't understand that anger plays a part in how they're feeling. And so we go hunting for it, we go looking for it. They're surprised because they don't expect themselves to be angry people. But anger is one of the key elements to stress, to anxiety, and to depression, of course.
Very well said, and it can cause a range of mental health conditions if not managed, and as I said, can impact on an individual's daily life. But is there any aspect of anger, Sarina, that can be harnessed actually to our benefit?
Of course, yes. I mean, anger is a very important emotion and shouldn't be shut down completely, because it's our protection, it's our defense mechanism, and when it is harnessed in the correct way, it can save our lives. It can also change the world. You know, people who get very angry at certain things that happen in the world, like climate change, for instance, although we won't go there. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, you've got to get angry about certain things, and then change happens because it gives you that energy to make sure that something different can occur.
Well, really well said. So what you're saying, as what I have understood, is that one can use anger as a platform to generate change for the better, because until you feel that emotion and strongly enough, or feel angry enough, you don't want to change things.
Exactly.
If you don't change things, nothing changes really.
Yeah. So anger tells us something's wrong, and that something wrong needs to be looked at and changed, not hidden.
How does one differentiate then between the anger that is rightly going to lead to some change or anger that might actually be damaging? How can one get that balance right?
So in therapy, if people come into therapy, there's always an exploration of what's been going on in the here and now, but also from the past. So it's looking at your story. It's looking at what's happened to you and what you have done about the things that has happened to you. You know, and you see clues in everybody's lives, and a therapist will guide you through what to do and how to do it. Yeah.
No, that's good. So, Sarina, before I ask you about the top 5 tips on how to manage anger, best coming from an expert, tell us a little bit about your work. You've written so many books that have helped so many people. You've got a big following. You do a lot of clinical work when you see patients and help them. Tell us a little bit about your books and your work.
So the books were an attempt at changing the world, Shania.
I like that.
Addiction's got a terrible reputation, horrible reputation, and the people who are addicts end up feeling shamed and silenced, because to come out from underneath that shame and all the misinformation about addiction is a very hard thing to do. So the books were my attempt at getting some narrative out there in the world to try and change what people think about all of this. This is a mental health illness. It's one of the most devastating illnesses that we have in our country today, in the world today maybe. And not enough people, I mean, I think it's changing, but it's not changing fast enough for me. So again, the books were an effort to try and get the word out there.
I can sense anger there.
No, I've come to accept that now.
So, yeah, sorry, I didn't really mean to interrupt. What about the books? They're your attempt to help people.
Yeah, to help people. People with the illness, people who are living with people with the illness, people who are working around people with the illness. It's how to see it, how to understand it, and mostly what to do about it, because that is the most important thing, what to do about it. And what to do about it is go and get help, because you'll never fix it by yourself, ever, never.
Great, Sarina, that brings us to 5 top tips on managing anger. So if somebody, ones, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what would you say would be the best 5 top tips coming from an expert?
Thank you. So, number 1, we need to first of all recognize the feeling and understand that everybody feels anger at some point in their lives. We need to own it and own up to it, and then try and talk to someone about how we feel rather than ignore it or hide it or say it doesn't exist. If not, then the trigger will kind of spill over, and aggression and it goes wrong. It goes wrong if you try to ignore it, so you can't ignore it. Number 3, you can learn from the benefit of journaling, where you talk about what's going on in your life here and now. It will help you see the different things that are affecting you adversely. You can maybe sign up for an anger management course. There are many, many, many anger management courses, and that should give people an idea of how prevalent it is. It's huge out there. And then you can seek help through therapy. Because I believe therapy is the way to go if you have something that is really showing itself up in PTSD or massive stress or depression.
Affecting your life, yes. Yeah. So just to recap on that, you said, I think self-awareness, number 1. Number 2, acknowledging there's an issue and reflecting on what might be happening. Number 4, using that reflection for journaling. And number 5, seeking help, be it from friends or even professional help at the right time.
Yes.
That's brilliant advice. Thank you, Sarina. Thank you so much, Sarina, for being with me at Videos by Shania, and helping people who want to improve their journey of self-development. That's what this channel is about. Any parting comments that you might want to?
Just don't be frightened to tell the truth. Tell the truth of what's going on with you, and amazing things can happen.
Absolutely. I think the key is recognizing and acknowledging. I think that's, and coming forward. And I think this is all about destigmatizing what we are demons, really, and bringing out there, right? And seeking the help.
It is.
That's brilliant. So thank you very much, Sarina. I'm sure you have enjoyed today's video. If you've keep watching my videos, if you like what you've seen, then like it, share it, tell it to all the people you know. And thank you very much for watching.